Um, we're going to first start talking about Donald Trump, the possibility of him uh, going to jail. Uh, what does that mean for the republic? Because I think remember the day that they raided Mar-a-Lago, like everyone was just beside themselves, and then an indictment comes down, and then another indictment comes down, and then another indictment comes down, and then the fourth indictment comes down, and people were just like beside themselves, like, holy crap, what the heck is happening right now? And are we actually going to jail one of Joe Biden's the political opponent? What does that mean for the republic? And I'm not sure that, all of these judges in these courts, they're not judges. I know they have on a robe. I know they went to law school. Some of them may have even practiced law. But these are not judges. These are partisan hacks who are more loyal to the Democratic machine than they are to the law. And then we're going to take a look at something I think is very interesting. After a while, the whole pro-Palestine protests, and it's their right. But what happens when reality sets in? Because I've always said, reality always wins. You can have your fantasy of somehow, some way, you protesting, defying orders on a college campus is somehow, some way going to help the people in Gaza. Okay. But once that fantasy is over, reality will set in. And you are going to see it set in hard. And then we're going to take a look at Joe Biden and what we are seeing right now with him backing away from Israel. This has always been Joe. None of this is new. And then finally, I have to show you this. I'm going to show you how YouTube puts their thumb, their fist on the scale. All right. It's May 10th, 2024. I'm Stuart Allister, and this is Cigar Friday. I'm starting with this. Now, just hang on a second. This is a scene from, I believe it's Jurassic Park 2. That's Julianne Moore, the actress. What happened to get her in this position was a T-Rex, angry that they had taken her baby, has pushed her mobile, workstation over a cliff. And after pushing it over the cliff, she falls right in to the back of that mobile, workstation. And she is looking down now at her death because now she is seeing, hundreds of feet over the cliff, and she will surely die. The problem was When the dinosaur pushed it over the edge, she slipped, fell, and landed on the back of the plate glass window. When she hit it so abruptly, as you can see, it cracks. The problem was she couldn't move. If she wanted to move to get off of here, it's going to break even further. If she just sits there, it's still going to break. And so Jeff Bloomberg, the character, is reaching for her and reaching for her and reaching for her. It's very suspenseful. And just before she moves, he catches her lucky backpack and saves the day. And then the entire caravan, falls to its own demise, explodes, and she was saved. That's America. Unfortunately, I don't think Jeff Bloomberg is going to be able to reach in fast enough to save us, because where we are right now, if we make a move, it cracks further. The Constitution cracks further. The Republic cracks further. If we make this move, it starts cracking forward. Just let me ask you something. What do you think happens when Donald Trump is elected? Do you think the Adam Schiffs and the Chuck Schumer and the Rachel Maddows are just going to say, well, I guess we lost? No, they're going to start cracking that Constitution even further. Now, let's say he loses. Donald Trump loses and Joe Biden wins. Well, the glass will be shattered very quickly, and everyone loses. This is a rock and a rock. Like my grandmother would say, you got a tiger by the tail, you can't let go, and you can't hold on. I don't know. I can tell you this. I'm still voting for Donald Trump. But what ensues after that, I don't know, because these Democrats are insane. All right, let's get into it. Before we go any further, why don't you wreck that like button? Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and press that notification bell so you never miss an episode.
What's going on here is a disgrace. Jonathan Turley just came out. This case is becoming legally obscene. It's, the articles are unbelievable. And I'd hand you the articles, but the problem is I'm not allowed to. Because if anything's mentioned against certain people, and you know who they are, certain people, anything's even mentioned, he wants to put me in jail. And that could happen one day, and I'd be very proud to go to jail for our Constitution, because what he's doing is so unconstitutional. There's never been anything like it.
I got to tell you, they have yet to name an actual crime. It's been, I think two weeks now? They've yet to actually name a crime.
Story after story, right here. Look at this, one after another. And this is over the last 2 days. Story after story. Hannity, big story. They're all big. Dershowitz, Jonathan Turley, Andrew McCarthy, Greg Jarrett. They've all been amazing. They're not friends. Nobody's friends. They're writing stories. They've never seen anything like that.
Jonathan Turley and Alan Dershowitz are both liberals. The only reason they're on Fox News so often is because MSNBC and CNN won't have them. Why? Well, they tell the truth. They actually expand on the law. They tell you what the law actually says, and CNN doesn't like that. CNN wants propaganda. MSNBC wants propaganda. So Alan Dershowitz is never invited on. Jonathan Turley is never invited on, and they are shunned by their own party. And those are the people who are writing these articles saying, hey, you are destroying our judiciary. What the ham is going on here?
They've never seen anything like what's going on today in this court is a very dark day for New York City, New York State, and it's a very dark day for our nation. And in the meantime, I can't be out campaigning. They could have brought it, I told you, 7 years ago. They could have brought it if they were to bring it. Remember, everybody turned it down. Southern District turned it down. Washington turned it down. The Federal Election Commission turned it down. And you know who else turned it down? Cy Vance turned it down. Everybody turned it down. And then Bragg came in and he turned it down.
Did you guys know that? Because I didn't. And I alluded to it yesterday, but I had never heard that. That Alvin Bragg had turned it down. When he looked at it, he said, there's no case here. So you got to ask yourself, then what changed? Who got to him? Someone did. Probably someone from the White House.
And he got very angry, actually, because a man named Pomerantz came out. And what's happening with Pomerantz? Are the papers looking into that deal? But he got himself into a jam. And so what happened is Bragg turned it down. And then when the election comes along, he said, well, let's go. But it's not a case that's been turned down. Remember this. It's a federal case. They all turned it down. And he's bringing it into the state or the city, I guess. Look, he's a district attorney where crime is rampant, violent crime is all over the place, and the city's going to hell. And they have many prosecutors in there. I couldn't even count them. It looked to me like certainly they have had more than 20 prosecutors sitting there over the fact that somebody paid a lawyer, and in paying the lawyer, so it was a legal expense, that somebody happened to be me. I didn't do the bookkeeping. I didn't even know about it, but a very good bookkeeper marked a legal expense down as a legal expense. They didn't call it construction. They didn't call it building something or concrete or electrical cost. They called, very simply, a legal expense to a lawyer. He was a lawyer, not a fixer. He was a lawyer. Legal expense to a lawyer, they called it legal expense. They said it was marked incorrectly. What else would you call it? It's a legal fee or a legal expense, and we called it a legal expense. This is what the case is about. And it's not about all of the other stuff that you've been seeing, because we're using that to attempt, it's had no impact because it's so old, attempt to do something to me politically. But the good news is the people understand that our poll numbers are the highest they've ever been. And it's ridiculous that I'm not going to be out campaigning for another week or two as these thugs, these corrupt thugs, and that includes the judge. He should throw this case out. This case should go no further.
A corrupt judge, an absolute corrupt judge who, and I'm telling you, these people are not judges. They're activists. These are Democrat lackeys. These are people that would burn the Constitution if it meant it gave them the White House, if it gave them power. These are people who do not like the country. They hate us. They despise the red, white, and blue.
Every legal expert, the ones I named and many more, Calabresi, another one, many of them, they came out and they said this case should not go forward. It's not a case. There's no crime. There is no crime. And they failed to show a crime. This is election interference. It all comes out of Washington. They have their reps here. You know, they have their reps here. I'm sure you know that. But this all comes out of Washington. It's to damage crooked Joe Biden's political opponent, happens to be me. And we're leading big in the polls, and the American people get it. It's a scam. So tomorrow we're doing a big rally, and it's going to be in Wildwood, New Jersey. We're going for the state of New Jersey. We think we can win New Jersey, and we think we can win a lot, because what's happening in our country is horrible. Between inflation and the horrible economy. And the only reason, by the way, the stock market goes up is that I'm leading in all the polls. If I weren't leading, the stock market would be way down. But I'm leading, and based on the fact that I'm leading, the stock market is up. And if I didn't win, you would have a crash like 1929.
What do you think about that? If he loses, there will be a crash like 1929. I remember when he was at rallies during the 2020 campaign, he was saying, if he's not reelected, you're going to be paying $7, $8, $9 for gas. He was right. Inflation will be through the roof. He was right. He's saying this time, if he doesn't win, the car industry is going to be a bloodbath. That's why I used that picture. Like we are on a razor's edge, man.
Mark my words, I've been right about everything. If I didn't win, you would have a crash like the crash of 1929, because the people that are running our government right now are corrupt and incompetent. Thank you very much, everybody.
So you tell me what you think. Now, that's not the only thing. I believe I have Alan Dershowitz, and I need you to listen for a term. I think it's called reversible error.
Well, first of all, there was clear reversible error today committed by the judge and by the prosecution under the reasoning of the recently reversed Harvey Weinstein case. So much information came out that was utterly irrelevant. Let's start with whether they had sex at all. Utterly irrelevant. The only issue is whether she threatened to expose him and whether she extorted him and whether he then paid money to avoid the embarrassment to his family, to his business, to his children.
Now, you don't get to hear, you'd never hear any of that in the news or the headlines. She's being pegged as some sort of saint. By the way, I'm not kidding. She's being pegged as a saint. But she was extorting Donald Trump, saying that if you don't give me XYZ, then I'm going everywhere. I'm telling everybody. It was clear extortion. And which, by the way, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, of course it's extortion. And by the way, that's not just me. It's not Alan Dershowitz. Everyone knows it. Everyone sees it, even CNN.
My impression was she was plausible on her explanation of what happened in that hotel room. It's hard for me to believe that a juror heard that and thought this is entirely made up. There may well be some embellishments, with Arthur, I think, pointed out effectively in the last hour, but I think it's quite clear they had sex in 2006 in that hotel room. But the cross-exam, boy, her responses were disastrous. I mean, do you hate Donald Trump? Yes, of course she does. That's a big deal. When the witness hates the person whose liberty is at stake, that's a big damn deal. And she's putting out tweets, fantasizing about him being in jail. That really undermines the credibility. The fact that she owes him $500,000, she, by order of a court, owes Donald Trump $500,000 and said, I will never pay him. I will defy a court order. the defense is going to say she's willing to defy a court order. Why? She's not willing to respect an order of a judge. Why is she going to respect this oath she took? So I thought it went quite poorly. My impression was...
Hang on a second. Let's look at that again, because here, listen again.
Plausible on her explanation of what happened in that hotel room. It's hard for me to believe that a juror heard that and thought this is entirely made up. There may well be some embellishments, with Arthur, I think, pointed out effectively in the last hour, but I think it's quite clear they had sex in 2006 in that hotel room. But the cross-exam, boy, her responses were disastrous. I mean, do you hate Donald Trump? Yes, of course she does. That's a big deal. When the witness hates the person whose liberty is at stake, that's a big damn deal. And she's putting out tweets, fantasizing about him being in jail.
So she is not given a gag order. Why not? Why isn't she given a gag order? Hey, you can't go out there talking about this case. You can't go out there telling the world what you think about the person that's now on trial. Do you know why? Of course you do. Because the judge has it in for Donald Trump. I'm telling you that this picture is exactly where we are. If we move one way, disaster. If we move another way, disaster. And so the only hope is that, the character Jeff Bloomberg can actually save us from disaster. But they are absolutely shattering the Constitution. When your preferred candidate tells you point blank, they want to put me in jail, by the way, as he's standing outside of a courthouse, and tells you I would proudly go to jail for our Constitution, we've lost the plot. Man, I got to tell you, I am not feeling good about any of this. Am I voting for Donald Trump? Of course I am. No red-blooded American is going to go out there and vote for Joe Biden. Once again, that is the most un-American thing anyone can do at this point. Holy crap. All right, moving along from the Daily Mail. Moment Arizona State University student cries after finding out punishment following arrest during anti-Israel protest. This is one of the most satisfying things I have seen in some time. Yes. Stu, are you relishing in her misery? Yes. Yes, I am. Stu, are you getting gratification because she's slobbering and crying because of what's happened to her? Yes. Yes, I am. Unbelievable, man. It is unbelievable. An Arizona State University student breaks down in tears in front of the courthouse following her arrest and learning she won't be allowed to graduate. You mean there were consequences? Huh. Now, some of you are thinking, well, wait a minute, Stu. I thought you were a pro-constitutional guy. She was just protesting. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. I've told you several times. The march on Selma, where they were peacefully protesting, they were just marching. And It's called, you can look it up for yourself. It's called Bloody Sunday, and the cops lit into them. They were literally marching and they were singing. That was it. They let the dogs out on them. I don't mean, the song, who let the dogs out? No. I mean, they let the dogs on them. That was a peaceful protest. That was abrupted. This was not that. Breonna Brocker, a senior who took part in the pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campus, told ABC 15 that she won't be able to graduate as her suspension will cause her to miss her final exams. Quote, "I'm a little disappointed," she said. "I'm being restricted from a lot of things right now that I didn't expect to be for standing up for something that I believed in. But I believed in it. I don't understand why I'm being persecuted and I'm being prosecuted because I stood up for what I believe in." What does that sound like to you? Who does that sound like to you? We know you believed it. That's why you were out there. But you were not peacefully protesting. Now, with no further ado, let's listen to Breonna. And yes, I am. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I mean, I'm a little disappointed. I'm being restricted from a lot of things right now that I didn't expect to be for standing up for something that I believe in.
But you weren't just standing up for something you believed in. You were barring Jewish students from walking across the campus. That's not standing up for what you believe in. That's not protesting. You were commandeering buildings. You don't have the right to commandeer buildings. You were building encampments. You don't have a right to build encampments. You can't bar people from walking across the campus just because of their religious beliefs.
I have family coming in who I have to let them know to, not come to my graduation ceremonies.
So she's got a family coming in. And they're going to have to tell her after 4 years, I'm not going to be able to graduate. And here's why. I really believed in it. Man, imagine you're the parent. And you're the one, the reason they're going probably is because they're the ones that paid for it. in large part. And now she's telling you, well, I did something that I really believed in. So you believe that Jews shouldn't be on campus? That ain't protesting, baby.
I am glad that there is a guarantee that my courses will be taken care of, so I don't have to worry necessarily about my graduation requirements and the fact that I will earn my degree as I have spent the past 4 years doing, but I'm just disappointed. I mean, I'm a 2020 high school grad, so I wasn't able to walk then. And so, here it is. I'm not able to walk now.
Knowing, what you know now, like you said, you were standing up for a cause, would you do it again?
I mean, yeah, I would. I was doing what I believed was right, and I still believe it to be right.
So you believe it was right to bar Jewish students from walking across the campus. You think you were right. You think you were right siding with known Teletubbies. You think you were right. And by the way, this is a conflict that you don't just get to call and say, well, I'm mixed. You know, who's, you know, I don't know. I see, I could be on both sides. I just see that it's like, no, you can't. This is literally either or, period. See, if you stand with these pro-Palestinians, you are necessarily standing with people who says Jews should not be allowed to breathe. When you're siding with a group of people who are absolutely Teletubbies, that's who you're siding with. But by the way, once again, if this is what you believe, okay, sure. We perfectly understand. But then there's going to be some consequences. This, by the way, is just the least of them. Wait till she gets out there on the job market. If you don't think that all of these, employers are not going to know about this, you've lost your mind. There's a reason that they all wear these masks. They weren't wearing the masks because, they didn't want to get sick. They didn't want to be identified. You didn't see anybody when black folk were marching on Selma, doing that march. They weren't wearing masks like bandits. By the way, and they were dressed to the nines. Dudes in suits and coats. I mean, they were black women did their hair and had dresses on. They were dressed. This ain't that. I'm amazed at her response that sure, yeah, I would do it again.
I would stand up for the cause again, even if it means something negative to me, because like the cause is so much harm has been done to all of those people already. I am safe. I am fine. I might not graduate, and that might harm future job prospects and stuff like that, but I'm not I'm not like in physical danger. I'm not constantly worried about being hurt or being forced from my home or anything like that. I would absolutely stand up again.
There you go. She would absolutely do it again. So you think like, well, maybe she knows now what happened. Now, this is my guess. Okay. People say, don't give her the benefit of the doubt. No. Hear me out. If I were to tell her, well, so do you agree with, barring Jews from the campus? She probably, and I'm just guessing, would say, well, no, of course not. So are you okay with, I don't know, suicide, explosions going off in cafes? Would you endorse that? I'm not sure that she would say yes. She has no idea who she is in bed with. And I don't have it pulled up. There was one of those college students. She said, "I really don't know why we're out here, and I really wish I was more, educated, but I'm not exactly sure." And she's probably one of those, just going with the crowd. One of the things I told my kids, and every parent has said it. If you see somebody jumping off a bridge, are you going to do it? You see someone throwing away their life, are you going to throw away yours? See, this really all boils down to parenting. It all boils down to parenting. There's one instance in which one of these people who were desecrating the World War I memorial, he was turned into the police by his father. How's about them apples? All of this boils down to bad parenting. And now this is one of those things where leadership matters. From the Daily Wire, Biden sides with Satan. Now, some of you may be thinking, Stu, come on. He's siding with Satan. I mean, come on. Well, let's just read and find out if he is. There's a very famous story about Joe Biden when he was a senator in the 1980s. In June 1982, Biden was on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he got into a clash with Marchaman Begin, the Prime Minister of Israel. Biden lectured Begin over Israeli settlements and threatened cutting off military aid for Israel's offense campaign in Lebanon, where Israel was fighting against arch Teletubby Yasser Arafat and his PLO. Begin, whose father, mother, and brother were murdered by Nazis in the Holocaust, had moved to Israel, where he became an underground fighter against the British in an attempt to establish the state of Israel. He turned to Biden and said the following: "Don't threaten us with cutting off aid to give up our principles. I'm not a Jew with trembling knees. I am a proud Jew with 3,700 years of civilized history. Nobody came to our aid when we were dying in the gas chambers and ovens. Nobody came to our aid when we were striving to create our country. We paid for it. We fought for it. We died for it. We will stand by our principles. We will defend them. And, when necessary, we will die for them again, with or without your aid." Most people don't know how beneficial Judaism has been around the world. Now, I'm not talking about weapons or money or anything like that. You see, you would actually have to study the Bible to understand this. One of the things that God required, and this is just one of the things that God required is that whenever you, let's just say, use the restroom, whenever you you expel something, you will wash your hands. in the book of Leviticus. He was writing out all of this is the way we are going to conduct our days. When you defecate, when you urinate, you will first wash your hands before you touch anything. When you hear the term, America was built on Judeo-Christian ethics, that's one of them that we just take for granted. Being kind to foreigners. That came from the Bible. Particularly, God said, when they come and they acknowledge your way of life, absolutely, let them in. You know what else he said? He forbid his people to use usury. Right now, although they're not calling it usury, that's what's happening with our college students. With all of these loans. You had people who took out a loan for 60 grand and after a few years owed 250,000. They took out 60 grand. They now owe this bank and that bank and the other bank over $250,000. That's called usury. God forbid it. We don't do that. When I say that you have a society that was built on Judeo-Christian ethics, I don't think that people understand what that means. That there are certain things that should be honored. For instance, marriage. Marriage, at some point in this country, it was an honor. That a man would propose to a woman. That you didn't have 17 wives. These are Judeo-Christian ethics that people just don't get. They take it for granted. And what they're trying to do right now is cut that off, and not understanding if we do cut that off, if we are no longer a Judeo-Christian country, which, by the way, we aren't anymore. One of my heroes, spiritual heroes, is Jack Hayford. You can go look him up. He came to our church one day. He said, we are no longer a Christian nation. Those days are gone. But if we start slowly but surely, and we have been now for decades, cutting God off here, cutting God off there, cutting traditions off here, cutting traditions off there, you're literally going back to using the restroom without washing your hands. Now you think, oh, still, that's stupid. Of course we'll still. See, that's what you think. You're dead wrong. It will devolve faster than you think. God's done so much for this country, it is insane. One of the things that most people don't understand, I don't know that I've gone over this before, but it certainly bears repeating right now. The question was, Stu, how in heaven's name can you say God blessed this country? We instituted slavery for God's sake. Dear God, man, have you lost it? No. No, I haven't. It's just that I know who and what God is, and I'm only talking about the biblical God. I don't know about all these other gods. I'm talking about the biblical God. That's the only one that I know. Okay? The only one that I know. How in the world could God, how could he possibly bless this nation when we instituted slavery? Well, here's why, and here's how. And this is just a short lesson in who and what God is. Because without that knowledge, you just go off the rails. You see, God is the only entity upon which the title of perfection can be placed. Nothing else in this universe is absolute perfection other than God. And so anything that comes close to going in that direction, what direction? The direction of perfection. You want to be kind. You want to do unto others as they would have them do unto you. You want to make laws that are just. You want to outlaw things like usury, and you want to make sure that your fellow man has the same rights and privileges that you have. This country was that. And although we weren't perfect, we were headed in that direction, and God could bless that. Are you telling me that God would allow you to institute slavery, which we got rid of? For all of you out there who think that somehow, some way, there's a bunch of old white men that hated everybody, and it's like, if they really felt that way, why don't we find it in any of the framers' documents? Why isn't it in the Constitution? Those are people say, see, Stu, you don't know what you're talking about. The Constitution said that we were 3/5 of a person. You don't know what you're talking about. You see, once again, that's where you shouldn't talk. That's part of the reason you shouldn't talk. You should just let other adults talk so they can learn you something. You're absolutely right. 3/5 of a person. That was done to benefit Black people. It was not to our detriment. You see, when you hear everybody yelling about this is a democracy, it's a democracy, it isn't. We are a republic. As such, the South, trying to get more congressional seats, the South figured we're going to count all of our slaves. The North was like, whoa, hold on a second. You don't even allow them to vote. And now somehow you're going to vote them? You can't vote for them. You can't count them as actual, citizens. You don't even allow them to do anything. So then there was a compromise, a 3/5 compromise, so that the South couldn't flood the country and overwhelm the country with more congressional seats. That was done to benefit Black people. It wasn't a hindrance to us, it was to benefit us. See, that's why I say you shouldn't talk. You should let the adults talk, and then you go out and, run around with the 5-year-olds. This is the greatest country on this. What God has done in this country is astounding. That's why God could bless America. Because although we weren't perfect, we were headed in that direction. We find these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed with certain unalienable rights by our Creator. And they only mention three. They said, among those liberties, among those freedoms, among those rights are the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They only numbered three. There were myriad of others. One of which was your right to self-defense. That was one of them. Another one was your ability to speak freely. Another one was your willingness or your right to associate with whomever you wanted to associate with. So now I take you back. Biden sides with Satan. Right now, he doesn't want Israel to eradicate Teletubbies. Let that one sink in. You have a president of these United States who is telling another country, don't go in there and eradicate those Teletubbies. Holy crap, dude. What are you talking about? Dear Lord. People don't understand. That's why the kid that all of these, pro-Palestinian kids that are desecrating the World War I memorial, they don't know what it cost to get this up and running. They don't have a clue. That it took blood and hard work. And since they don't know that, there's an instance in Joshua where, you know what? A lot of my worldview, probably my entire worldview, comes from biblical texts. And there's one instance in which they're lamenting the fact that there was a generation that was coming up that didn't know about their deliverance from Egypt. They were lamenting the fact that there was going to be a generation that had no idea about the wars they had to fight. They had no idea what God had done for them. They were coming into a generation that just figured, this is where life is, and this is how we got here, and they had no idea what it cost. So when I say I'm proud to be an American, I actually mean it. With all of our warts, with all of our scars, with all of our deformities, I am a proud American, and that's why. God blessed this country. We enslaved black people, and a black person became president. Now, I, for one, didn't vote for him because I don't know how anyone votes for someone named Barack Hussein Obama. How do you vote for that? But we did. And although I didn't vote for him and would never in a million years vote for him, it said something about America. By the way, do you know that there was about 700 counties that voted for Obama twice? All of those counties, by the way, overwhelmingly were white. Hold on a minute, what? Yeah. But then when it came to Hillary, they said, hell no. And those 700 counties or about flipped and voted for Donald Trump. That's why we're here. It really wasn't because Donald Trump was such a great orator, which he is. Donald Trump is funny. He's stinking funny. But that's really not why we're here. We're here because Obama failed the American people. I know. Still, I don't know. You don't know what you're talking about. God would never. And people say that and they have no idea of who or what God is. And God's not going to put up with this. Because now we are moving away from doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. We're moving away from that now. Now we're moving towards putting in prison people that disagree with us. Now we have people, a generation of people who are now siding with Teletubbies. That God won't abide. All right, enough about that. Now I want to show you guys something, and hold on a second. I don't know that you guys know this, but I'm going to show you how YouTube puts their their fist on the scale. Now, as a content creator, we get these letters that you see on the screen right now. And these tell you how you're doing, you know, your viewers, your subscribers, and how your channel is faring. Well, you see at the top there, it says, this is our January. Well, actually, as you can see, it's like January 11th. So really, this is about what happened in December. Okay? So in December, I got 35, new subscribers, which is horrible, but it is what it is. But one instance on a Cigar Friday, I was sick, and so I did a 30-second video saying that I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm sicker than a dog. Turned out that most of my videos get maybe 150, 200 views. That one got 700, close to 700 views. And I thought, wait, what? And then I figured, oh, it's the shorts. It's the shorts. Because I had been stagnant at like 6,000 and something like that. I was absolutely stuck. I was put what they call in a silo. I wasn't getting anywhere. And so I figured, well, I'm gonna see if I can do more shorts to see if I can get more subscribers. And the next one, I got 34. I was consistently getting 34. But then I leaned hard into it. And I started making real good shorts, specifically 59 seconds. And then, voila, 1 month, 1,186 new subscribers. Why? Because I was doing shorts. And then the next month, 450 is like, oh, okay, it's not 1,000, but I'm still doing okay. And then whammo, 0. Out of the blue. Goose egg. That's how YouTube puts their thumb on the scale. Because I'm going to tell people Stormy Daniel was extorting people. Well, YouTube doesn't like that. I'm going to tell people Fannie Willis's dad lied and has no police records showing to corroborate anything that he said on the stand. YouTube doesn't like that. I'm going to tell you, Joe Biden's economics are causing us real damage. I paid $18.18 for a burger and fries. $18.18 for a burger and fries. Are you out of your mind? They don't like that. And so now I had zero, an entire month, zero new subscribers. Because she said, no, we can't let them, no, we got to stop them. Because God forbid, people get my point of view. That's how this works. You want to know how Google puts their thumb on the scale? This is how. And it's unconscionable. It really is. So I say all of that to say, if you can, please share my videos, family and friends. That's the only way that it's going to get out there. Even when I'm still doing shorts, at one point, my shorts, I would get like 5,000 views, 15,000, I get 20,000 views, thousands and thousands and thousands of views. And it was really reflecting on my subscription numbers. And YouTube didn't like that. And so now my shorts will get like 25 views, like 30 views. It's really unconscionable. All right. For those of you who would like to know what I'm smoking, this is a Romeo and Julieta. It's called the Reserve Real from Naga. And as you can see, this has been a very, very nice smoke. It's been even. Look at that. Will you look at that? Holy mackerel. So yeah, if you can get your hands on one of these, and this is the, I think it's blue Romeo and Juliet Reserve from Nika. You would enjoy this one. I'm telling you, you would really, really like this one. All right, that's it for now. Hey, if you like this video, smash that like button and subscribe. And hey, if you are following me on the other video platform, let's call it the green platform, please press follow. Apparently, if you mention that word, the R word, YouTube doesn't like that. You mean to tell me that they don't even like you to go to it? Yeah, they don't want, like, by the way, I mean, I understand that's a business decision. They don't like, in case of those of you who didn't know, Google doesn't like competition. Okay. Neither does Apple. They don't like competition, and they will snuff it out the second they get a chance. So if you see me on the green channel, please press follow. Until the next time, God bless.